What would you guess is a constant in your life? You probably guessed it right. Challenges. There's always going to be challenges in your personal life and your relationships, with finances, with the physical body, with your business. There's challenges all around us. But we can look at challenges in one of several different ways. And we're going to go over all those different ways today with our guest, Mark Smith. We can look at challenges as obstacles and as barriers that are stopping us from going from where we are to where we want to be. Or we could see obstacles for what they really are. They are growth opportunities. They are times for you to sharpen your skills, become more of who you were meant to be so that you can overcome the challenge, go around the barrier, dig a hole under the barrier, jump over it, whatever it might be. Challenges are a necessary part of life, but sometimes those challenges can be very difficult. So the question is, how can you overcome those challenges in your life and business? And how can you weather the storm? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today with Mark Smith, our expert in this field. And you're going to love Mark. He's a ball of energy, and he's going to share some really great points while also diving into his own backstory as well of how you can overcome challenges. But you know the fee for the show. When you take away a piece of value, anything that helps you to live a better life, share this show with just one person who could use it the most. That's how we've grown so much over the past year, because you're part of the team and you've been sharing this show with people who you know will find value from it as well. And for that, I'm grateful to you. So without further ado, let's talk to our guest expert today, Mark Smith. And for those who don't know Mark is an award-winning Strive trainer at the Center for Urban Families in Baltimore, Maryland. His teachings and guidance have changed the lives of thousands of men and women, not only in Maryland, but nationwide. His podcast and TV show, The Process, outlines trials and tribulations that we all go through, and it offers insights on methods to weather the storms in life. Mark's vision statement of your why is greater than your situation, which is part of your process, gives us the perspective that we are always growing. Mark, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Brandon. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today.
It's a pleasure to have you here. You know, some people listening, they might not have many challenges in their life right now, and they're going, they're presented with one, they overcome it because they're trained, right? A lot of people listening are entrepreneurs and sales professionals. And have you ever been in sales, by the way?
Oh, yes.
I believe we're all in sales.
Many hats, life insurance, cars. I mean, man, I've had a plethora of opportunities to be a salesperson in my size of my life. Education, you name it, man. It's been in my blood for many, many years.
I love that. Yeah, same here. I've been in sales since I was born. I think we've all been in sales, but since I was 18 professionally. And, as salespeople, we encounter challenges all the time, but some people listening are encountering large challenges, right? Giant life challenges where they're becoming a different version of themselves or they're learning new things. Like, I'm curious, before we jump into like the practical, how did you find yourself moving down this path with helping the people that you help and talking about what you talk about?
Brandon, it's been something that has been inside me from I want to say birth, but I think I'd be exaggerating. I'm a former athlete. I played football in a high school level and played it at a collegiate level as well. So I'm huge on competition. So I've always loved to compete in one way or another. But I remember my coach coming to me in high school and says, "You know what, Mark? The words that you speak to these individuals, your teammates inside the huddle, it motivates them and leads them into the belief factor that they can push a little bit harder. They can rise above what their current situation is to make sure that you execute and complete your task at hand." And I never really thought too much about it. I didn't. I'm like, okay, coach, it's just I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. But as I go back, or as I grew mentally and sharpen my skill set, I realized that I truly have some words that can be impactful and help change the course of nature or change the course of individuals within themselves as they go through to get through to what they needed to achieve. So it's been, again, man, it's been a long road, a pleasurable road. I've had my own tops and topsy-turvy life. I had my ups and my downs. I've been rock bottom. I've been at the top of the mountain before. I've been all the way. I think the key for everybody, especially if you're in sales or coaching or anything like that, is remember, stay centered. Try to stay centered the best that you can. Never get too high, never get too low. Drive home.
I love that phrase of stay center. I like that. People hear motivation and they think like, you can do it. Whatever you think about, you can achieve. You can be whatever you want. And it feels good. Like you obviously would rather hear that than somebody who is just a Debbie Downer talking down to you, especially when you're in the moment of you're about to go on the field, you're about to play the game, right? And now your performance really matters. Like,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on motivation? And really the question is, when you found these words that made a difference in the player's mindset and attitude and performance, what is the power behind words?
Man, it holds the key value. I've always said, if I were to ever be beaten bad, I would rather be beaten physically than mentally than with words. I would, because words scar. Some words can lift you, they can make you or break you, and it's sad that we allow that to happen so many times, but it's a fact. So I always realize that there's two choices that I have when I interact with anybody. From my conversation with anybody, I can leave you bitter or I can leave you better. That's on me. I choose to do the other. I choose to leave you better. But it's so important that we remember that these are truly too. These are words. These are just emotions that are going to drive things out of you that are already inside of you. I always talk about when I do workshops and I do facilitation. When I usually sit down one on one with individuals, they will come and already talk to me about some of the things or situations that they're going through. And as I'm sitting there listening, I'm just smiling, listening, because you're already telling yourself how you're gonna beat this, how you're gonna defeat this, how this is already won in your own mind. Now all you have to do is just believe it within yourself. And that's so again, that's the key. And it starts at the top of the morning, man. The very first time when you first wake up, when you go look in that mirror, that's where your perception is going to be formed for that day. And again, you can leave everybody you come in contact with bitter, or you can leave them better. Choose better.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it interesting how you can have a conversation with someone who's going through challenges or hard times, and just by them talking through it themselves to you, they're able to figure out the answer that they came to you for, but they were able to figure the answer out themselves. Or even when people say, Mark, you really helped me a ton with this, you're probably thinking, like, yeah, I listened to you and I gave some feedback, but really, you're the one who made the changes. You're the one who took the action. You're the one who had the answers inside all along.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always said, and I go back to, and I had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman while I was finishing up my honeydew list, the chores that my wife had me do. I was finishing up, and we were talking about change. And what does it mean to change? And I said, you know what? His name is Dale. I said, Dale, you know what? The fact of the matter is, most people do not change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the change itself. And he paused for a minute. He looked at me. He said, I think you're right. I said, I believe I'm right, because I know that from my own personal experience, staying the same on so many different levels or so many different things, it was tough. And I became complacent and I became comfortable. And everybody that knows me, Brandon, hears me say, comfort is a casualty of growth. And that is something that I've always tried to pride myself on, is not getting too comfortable, making sure that I am staying even keel, but always challenging myself to be better, challenging the words to be stronger, the actions to be more impactful. Everything that I try to do, again, is to try to push not only myself, but individuals that I come across, push them forward to levels that they truly didn't think they could be.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a quote the other day similar to what you just said, which was like, grow before you have to. Like,
Mm,
just continue growing. Don't wait until the situation arises where you're like, oh my God, I need to grow in order to confront this massive challenge or opportunity that I'm
mm,
facing. You don't want the opportunity to arise and you're not ready for the opportunity, right?
mm.
I heard someone say a long time ago, luck is when preparation, the growth cycle, meets that opportunity. And realistically, you probably won't even see that opportunity if you haven't grown to meet the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be aware. I always say, a lot of us, when we start, especially in the when I coached, I used to tell all the kids that were there, young men, I said, a lot of people can see, but not many have vision. What I'm telling them is that you're right there. You see what you want to do, but are you walking this whole process through your mind? Are you pushing yourself to see something that's already out there at the very end, and are you working backwards to get there? And I talk a lot about that in the trainings that I do, as well as think about, really truly think about where you're trying to go and how impactful that's going to be for you. How does it make you feel? Now let's work backwards. Let's talk about the functional steps that you need to do to get there, and how it's going to be, how you're going to enjoy those small wins each step of the way to make sure that you're happy, and you're achieving your goals and your dreams.
Oh, well said, man. People see, but they have no vision. Work backwards. I want to talk about vision because I know that's something you talk about a lot, especially when it comes to understanding and discovering your why. That can help you to push through the hard times and even help you maybe to avoid them in the first place. But if you don't have hard times, right, if you're not challenged, then you're not growing. You're not out of the comfort zone. So I want to touch on a lot of things here. So I'm curious, when you were, I'm sure you're still into sports, but back during this time you were mentioning before, when you were into sports, you really discovered the power that your words held in order to help other people improve. Did you jump right from that into business, or what did it look like from you transitioning from that to saying, wow, I think there's actually a business in helping people to transform their life and weather the storm? Like, what did that look like for you?
I went back and thought about how I was living my life. And I said that initially, when I was younger, I'm not gonna say older, I'm saying I'm wiser now. When I was a little I was a little bit younger, I lived life, and I talk about it quite a bit as well. Man, I lived life transactional. By transactional is, what can I do? What can I do for you? What are you doing for me? How is it going to benefit me? I use the saying with them, what's in it for me? I,
Mm,
I worked with that a lot. But as I continue to grow, and as I continue to push myself to be better, I said, no, life is not really, I shouldn't be living my life as transactional. It should be transformational. So I should be able to take the words that I'm saying and push them out in a different way. And what I did is I decided I was going to develop this through acronyms. And I said, because as a coach, a former coach, you're quick. We're teaching things, we're teaching it quick. We're embedding things inside of our players, inside of our minds, to just think about one word, and then that's going to draw reaction. So I said, how can I take what I learned back in high school and in college? How can I take that from what I learned as an admissions rep in the education space for 15 years, getting individuals excited and motivated about going back to school? How can I take that and embrace it in something that has been inside me and pull it all the way out? And that transition was a tough transition initially, but man, it all came to a head in 2018. In 2018 is when I took all that's 15 years of education, and the door of education was closed on me. I was working for a for-profit institution. That school abruptly in 2018 closed its doors,
mm,
and they didn't give us an opportunity to question anything or understand why. We were called in at 11 o'clock in the morning and told that we were closing that day.
wow.
That day. And to take it a step further, we had to go have the conversation with the student body and tell them that the school was going to be closed. That so I started thinking, then what am I going to do different? What am I going to do different over the next segment of my life to be successful? And then I said, I have to launch this. It's time to take what I've been teaching, take what I've been feeling, take my story, and take my story and push it out there for everybody. So it was we talk about losing things. I at that point in 2018, I said, yeah, this is a tough time for me. It really is. I lost something. But it turned out at 2022, that was the best thing that could have happened, was for them to pull me in that office, for them to shut that facility down, because now I am truly, truly seeing the benefit of changing lives.
Wow. At the time, that must have been one of the hardest things that ever happened to you, right?
It was humiliating, because I've never lost a job before. I quit. You didn't fire me. I quit. I left for other opportunities. But I think that was a true part of, we talk about growth. And that's when I really started to formulate the process. And then one of the messages I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I use acronyms. One of the messages that I wrote inside there was entitled Growth. And Everybody wonder, well, what does that mean? Where is it coming from? I said, well, let me tell you what growth means to me. And I hope everybody's listening, because this is truly what growth is. It's a gradual reminder that obstacles will test hope. That's growth. You talked about obstacles. You talk about obstacles. Obstacles are opportunities. See, this obstacle was a great opportunity for me to sit down, do a self assessment. Sometimes that's hard for us to do a self check on where we are and where we truly need to be. So when I was sitting and I wrote that message again, it was strictly designed to remind people that, guess what, you're not growing until something happens. Once something kicks you off that square, or nudges you or elbows you a little bit to get you to redirect your thinking, to go back to base camp for a minute, then that's when you know you're going to start to arrive and embrace it. So I would, and I encourage that, and I talk about it a lot. Embrace that growth, embrace that storm, because guess what? It's pushing you, it's rocking you, it's building you, it's putting you in the gym, it's making you put those extra miles in, it's getting what you need to have done to make sure that you're going to be successful at another level. Then becomes your responsibility to go help somebody else when you see them going through that struggle.
Yeah. It's so interesting, man, to go through a very difficult time of life. And during that point, it feels like everything's crumbling down around you. During that point, it feels like the most difficult time of your entire life. But then you look back a couple years later, maybe even sooner, you look back 6 months later, and you're like, if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. Maybe this event happening is what curated all of these other amazing things and opportunities in my life to have shown up in the first place. So sometimes the greatest challenges are actually the doors that open up to a new realm of growth and opportunity.
Absolutely. I tell it, I learned more losing in a game than I did winning. I learned more about myself, more about my teammates. You knew where to draw your strength from. You knew areas. I don't say weaknesses. I say areas of opportunity. I know where my areas of opportunity lie going forward, and that's the same thing with life. I mean, the problem, Brandon, is a lot of times we get into our own feelings. We get in our own way. And we stop and think, just because a situation, not a problem, a situation occurs inside of our lives, that we just need to stop and settle and woe is me. And I did it. I'm first one to tell you, none of my writings or anything that I talk about is hypocritical. I tell you exactly some of the stages or some of the feelings that I had. But I also had to remember too, something that a wise man, my grandfather, told me a long time ago. He said, those feelings that you have, son, those are temporary. Those are temporary. You need to get out of your feelings, get in and get back in tune to what you truly are called to do. Because the fact of the matter is that the dreams, for all of us, all of our dreams are usually influenced by the world. That action that I had of feeling negative, that's because people teach you and tell you that if you lose, or something a catastrophic occurs, you're supposed to feel down. But your purpose is owning everything about yourself. And I didn't own everything about myself at that point. I had got comfortable in this job. I was doing the status quo. I didn't think that I didn't even visualize that this could even happen to me. But guess what? It did. It's the best thing that happened to me. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. Once I came through, it wasn't that bad. You realize, and I tell everybody as well, man, is that think about any situation that you've had in life that you didn't get through. The outcome may not have been the way that you wanted it and what you visualized, but guess what? You got through it. So our track record of pushing through things like that is 100%. What better odds do you want than that? You're going to get through it. It's just a matter of how your mindset is, why you go through to get through.
Yeah, when I look back in my life and I think of all the times that I broke through and became more, it's during the time or right after the time that I went through one of the most, difficult hardships in my life. Like I remember when I was in sales, I was 21, I was severely overweight, like 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I was disgusted with myself, terrible self-image. I was in debt. I was a negative person. Like people didn't want to be around me on the sales team. Like I wasn't there for them. I was living like what you said. I was living on a very transactional basis.
Mhm.
Definitely not transformational. It took a very long time for me to get to that point, and I'm still looking to improve there. So I have a question about that in a minute here. But I remember I went to the leader that was my leader in the company at this point, and I said, Keith, I'm ready to be a leader in the company. What do I need to do in order to be promoted? And he just looked at me and, he used harsh words at the time, but he pretty much said, dude, there's no way you're going to be a leader in this company anytime soon. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, before you can lead other people, you need to lead yourself. You don't have the respect of the team. No one here respects you. He's like, you've got a lot of growing and a lot of work to do. And I absolutely love that growth acronym. Can you say that one more time?
Absolutely. It's gradual reminder, obstacles will test hope, growth.
And I'm telling you, man, at that time, like my hope was very low. I remember looking for a different job. I remember applying to a different job, getting ready to fly out to training for this different sales job that probably, who knows what could have happened, but it probably wouldn't have been nearly as good as where I was. And he said, Brandon, hold on. There's still hope. He said, he didn't use that word, but really that's what he meant. There's still hope for you here. You can still grow. You can still improve. Let me help you. And he did. He started bringing me to the gym with him, and just focusing on improving and growing in one area helped me to grow in practically all the other areas at the same time. But if I didn't go through that low of not having any respect, of not taking care of my body, then you don't recognize the highs unless you are in the lows.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Rick Rigsby used to say, how you do anything is everything. And one of the other things that he talked about is that rock bottom is a great foundation to grow. That is definitely something that I had to learn at a high level. I had to learn as an adult, not a kid. You don't understand rock bottom as a kid, because you don't think you're still invincible. There's nothing going on. But the more and more you become seasoned, the more and more life has thrown at you, the more and more things have you've had to juggle so many things inside your life. The more you understand that life is sacred, but also the learning curve or the things that you truly need to learn are always presented to you. A lot of people can see, but not many have vision.
I love that quote, man. So you were laid off in 2018. You're thinking, oh man, what's next for me? Right. And that's when you started thinking in terms of these acronyms, which are incredible. And then you started your podcast, The Process, in 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what motivated you to begin that project? And I'm sure you faced a lot of challenges in the way to creating your business and creating the podcast. Like what did that part of your journey look like for you?
Man, it was amazing. I started off with I had said that on, coincidentally, January 1, 2020, I was going to launch a YouTube video. And all the people inside of what I thought was my circle, which we'll touch on in a minute, were like, whatever, man, whatever, you go ahead. Everybody has a YouTube video. So I said, okay, because I wanted something to say. And I knew that it was important. And I said that there's three things that the process has to do within myself and my story. Number one, I had to believe that my story had the potential to change someone's life. What did that look like? That means talking from the heart. I talk about in each one of my messages, I'm not hypocritical. I talk about things when my grandparents whooped my butt pretty good. I talked about the mischief and goofiness that I did when I was young. I talked about my divorce. I talked about struggling with alcoholism at one point. I knew that telling my story had the potential to change someone's life. Number two, I knew that my story was worth sharing, even only if it impacts just one person. If I could change one, I when I did a speech or a conference, excuse me, at a conference a couple of weeks ago, a lady asked me, she said, Mr. Smith, Mr. Mark Smith. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, what is your goal? What is your vision in doing this? I said, I'm going to change 100,000 lives. And she said, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to change 100,000 lives. She said, that's a lofty goal. I said, exactly. I said, because if I changed one here today, guess what? That one is going to change two. If I change two, those two will change four. So it's going to be a consistent effort of individuals who are going to be uplifted and going to be better and have a blueprint now, so they don't have to suffer or think about that thing anymore. And lastly, and most importantly, Brandon, I said that I am defined by what God says about me, not what others think about me. See, at that time when I lost my job, I felt low. I felt that if I had to pick up the phone and ask somebody to help me out, which again, no transparency, I did. I had to say, man, I need to, can I, this is my situation right now. Can you help me out for a little bit? So I had to think about these messages that I talk about are all centralized to make sure that I am stretching myself by talking to myself or talking about myself and my specific situations, but also giving everybody an opportunity to know that Mark is real. Mark has gone through and goes through the same things that you do. My wife laughs about me because I always use the analogy of a cake. And the process in everybody's life is a cake. Most of us like cake, cake or cookies or something like that. But guess what? A cake is a cake. It needs, what's the consistent thing about a cake? It needs a heat source and it needs ingredients inside of it. Those ingredients are the things that are in my life. Then that's stuff that's in your life, but it still has to bake. And once it bakes, it rises, we cut it, we eat it, and we move on from that point on. That's the process. All that stuff that's inside that cake is our process to grow, to bake, to expand, and to be better than we could be at all times.
And what is it that heats those ingredients? So you got the ingredients, but how do you, what is the heat? Is that the personal why?
That personal why. That is the personal why.
Did you discover your own why just by doing, or did you discover your why and then begin doing?
I discovered my why by just doing, man. I had to feel, going from that point to where you felt less than, which is, again, I wrote another acronym. Why stands for withstanding your happiness, withstanding happiness within yourself. Withstanding happiness within yourself. I had to get up every morning and I had to be the one to look in that mirror. You hear me talk a lot about when I do conferences, I talk about furniture. And I sold furniture at one point too. So so people, I ask them, I said, so what is the most valuable piece of furniture that you have in your house? And all my guys in the conference or in the speech just say my TV, I gotta have my big screen TV. I'm like, I got you, I got one too. The ladies talk about their dressing room with all their clothes, all those types of things in there. Some people say their makeup room, other people say their couch, their bed. But I always go back and ask them, how important is your mirror? How important is that when you wake up? Because that's what you see. That vision that you see and you get within yourself when you first wake up. And me, 4:30 in the morning. 4:30 in the morning, I'm up, I'm getting myself, I'm working out, I'm no phone, nothing. I'm in tune and locked into Mark. So that is so important for when I look in the mirror, when I first go downstairs and hit the gym, to when I come back up and get in the shower and get dressed for the day. How am I going to leave you that day? Am I going to leave you bitter? Am I going to leave you better? So it starts with my own internal perception right there in my mirror. So it's key, man. You're understanding who you are, understanding that, and welcoming the happiness within yourself is so paramount, man, to make sure that you're stretching yourself, you're stretching the people around you. Because again, I talked about before the network of people who when I first started, man, I didn't have a circle. I had a cage. That was a cage of people. They had me trapped in, feeling I couldn't, I was going to make a mistake. It was not going to work. I'm just wasting my time. Here it is, the process.
A cage versus a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Great way of looking at it, because that's exactly how it was for me, brother. So I completely understand that. And sometimes you have to release them out of the cage so that you can grow and leave the cage as well. I remember, I had a friend of mine who, he still is a friend of mine. Like, he's not a friend just because I don't hang around him all often, but we grew up together. And that's the case with a lot of people. You might have someone that you grew up with and you've just gotten so used to spending time with this individual, and you are more influenced by this individual's behavior and mindset and attitude than you could ever imagine. Take a couple months away from this individual and spend it around others who are operating at a higher level, whether that's emotionally, mentally, or physically. They're playing the game at a higher level than you, and whatever game it is that you're playing, spend time around them. Notice how you change, and then spend a day with that person that you haven't spent with for a few months. Everything changes, and it's not easy to release people out of the cage and expand your own network, right? It's not easy to release them, but it's necessary, right? And
Abs-
it's not easy, but you do hard things. You have to be willing to do the hard things and make the hard decisions to get and build that circle that will promote your own growth.
Mhm. I ask men and women in this workshop that I teach in Baltimore a lot. I said, so let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if you are within your circle, your circle of influence, your friends. Raise your hand if you're the go-to person. Raise your hand if somebody's always reaching to you, they're picking from you and getting information from you all the time. And quite a few of them always raise their hand. I tell them you need to change your circle. Because if
Mm.
you're always the person that they're going to, you're spending too much time fixing their stuff. What about you? Who are you leaning on? Who are you drawing your influence from? I say there's no mystery why you're feeling the way that you feel right now, because you're spending so much of your growth time, so much of your time to being better, so much of your progressionary time dealing with their stuff, and you can't deal with their stuff when you're trying to work on your own. You have to be at that time. I need you to be selfish. I need you to be selfish to take care of you so you can be the best that you can be. I talk a lot about the airplane ride. Most all of us have flown a plane. What's the flight attendant always tell you, if the cabin should lose pressure, oxygen mask will fall. Take the mask, put it on your face, and then if you're traveling with a young kid or somebody else, then you put it on theirs. You got to take care of yourself first. How you gonna take care of somebody else if you're not mentally okay, if you're not physically okay? How you gonna help somebody else? So that is why welcoming the happiness within yourself is key. Is key.
Oh, I love everything you're saying, brother. I resonate with it, and it's I love the structure that you've created for your teachings in the form of these acronyms, because it's just fascinating how a simple, quote unquote, simple framework can really pack in so much meaning. And it's almost as if these acronyms it's as if these acronyms are a multiplier for the meaning that you are instilling in the words themselves. Because it's one thing to say, your why is withstanding happiness within yourself. It's one thing to say it, but when you pack it into that acronym, it means something completely different. It's just fascinating how words and our language can hold so much power.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely, and that's what it is. It's taking what we have, and Brandon. I'm not a young man. I'm a wiser man.
You're wise, man.
I'm a wiser man. But you know what? I go back and I talk about. We just talked about a minute ago. I talk about transactional versus transformation, and as I grew and understand things a lot more, life is truly supposed to be and is designed to be simplistic. We have convoluted with so many things that we bring upon ourselves, uh the people who we deal with, the expectations of somebody else, allowing those expectations, packing things in unnecessary things inside of our life that we really don't there's really no need for. I tell a story of my wife going to Macy's one time, and I'm sitting in the mall just watching people, and she comes back with two bags out of Macy's, and I'm thinking, what is in these bags? And we come home, and I go to my office and start writing for an upcoming show, and she says, I'm gonna show you what's in these bags now, and she opens about one bag said today, the other bag said tomorrow. And she said, what do you think this means? I said, this going coincides with when I talk about light bag and heavy bag. See, we take that all that stuff, the negativity, the people who aren't really in our corner, the things that we've done, and we've always packed it in that heavy bag. So when we can never get to the next steps in life because we're still holding on to this craziness. The people who did us wrong, the things that we think aren't right. We got passed over a promotion and we're mad at the boss. That's in your heavy bag. Don't worry about it. Your light bag, tomorrow bag. The bag is, hey, now I got to work harder. Now I got to redefine and do a self-assessment on myself. Now I got to go back to school. Now I got to take the things and help myself be better. So the next opportunity, gradual reminder, opportunity will test hope. Next opportunity that I get, that I'm ready to go. They can't pass me over anymore. I'm okay. If they do pass me over, what next time? Guess what? Next, I can look for other opportunities elsewhere. Get rid of that. Those two bags represented light bag and heavy bag. And I encourage everybody that if you have that heavy bag, get rid of that heavy bag. Take it to the dump, put it in trash, wherever trash day is, get rid of that heavy bag. Focus your attention on that light bag, the thing that's going to bring you promise, success, and most importantly, peace. Bring you some peace within yourself, welcoming your happiness within yourself.
Just let it go, man. Just let the heavy bag down.
Mhm.
You got the light bag now that you can fill up with more opportunities,
Mhm.
more ways for you to grow and become more of who you were meant to be. Even if someone's listening and they don't know what it is that they want to do, like the reality is we can create a vision, and it's very important to have that vision, right? That we just talked about. But the path to the vision, we have no idea. We can deconstruct it. We can see, okay, this is the next step, the next step, the next step. And we've created and theorized a plan. And that's very important, I believe. But that plan is realistically going to change.
All the time, all the time. I thought that I would never leave post-secondary education. Never. I'd have retired in the post-secondary career development type field. I retired as a director. I would have sat back and not done anything else, man. But your path always changes. I mean, my background and my education is in criminal justice. I don't embark in anything in criminal justice. I don't. So the path, your evolution and path in life, it will always change. But each message, each element inside there, from high school to college to working in a factory to education to writing things down, man, each one of them had played an intricate part and were a piece of my growth, a piece of the pie that actually pushed me to move different levels. Now I'm writing a series right now, man, called "If I Only Knew Then What I Know Now."
Mm.
And I think everybody can testify and says that at some point, if I only knew then what I know now. So it's truly about going back and picking apart some of those small things that were there that we didn't even take a look at. Again, that is part of the vision from what we didn't see at the very beginning.
Hell yeah. And you said something a while ago, but I think it's so important. It's important to anybody, whether you're a business owner, entrepreneur, retail clerk at the grocery store. It doesn't matter. The three principles. I don't know if you called them principles, but it was believe in your story.
Mhm.
Your story is worth sharing, and you are not defined by other people. You are defined by God. And I know some of you might hear that and you're like, oh, well, I'm not religious. That's okay. Like, realistically, you believe that there's some other force at play here, whether it's the universe or infinite intelligence or whatever you believe. We are simply playing in that arena. We're playing in that game, and you're not defined by the thoughts of other people who are just like you. You're defined by whatever that higher power is for you. And no matter what challenges you're facing, no matter who you are, no matter what you're great at, not great at, you have one thing that's unique about you, which is exactly what you said, Mark. Your story is the
Mhm.
one thing that's unique about you.
Mhm.
And by sharing your story, while it's different than other people's, they'll be able to see themselves in that story. They'll be able to relate to themselves. And by you supporting more of life, life will therefore support you.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. Now, what you talked about the different examples of professions, the the different examples of individuals themselves, I call that purpose. See, a lot of people think that purpose, they confuse purpose with a platform. They think that my purpose is to go and talk to people, to speak, to have different, to have a podcast show, to do different things like that. No, purpose is what God has given me. Period. He has made me unique. He's made you unique. He's made everybody who's listening unique. There's only one of you. There will never be another. Never ever. It cannot be duplicated. I don't care if you have twins or identical. You're two unique individuals. That is purpose. Embrace that. It's not about what your job title is. It really isn't. It's about how are you affecting everybody around you? What are you doing to bolster yourself to make you the greatest you that you can be? They talk about live your best life. We have the capability to live your best life if we truly embrace who we are and not worry about what anybody else thinks of us. Who cares? Who cares? At the end of the day, you have your family. Sometimes your family can be on that, can be part of that cage sometimes too. Now, we're going to be reality, but embrace who you are, embrace your story, embrace your passion, tell your story, because it's going to help somebody. It's going to change somebody. And don't worry about what anybody thinks. Who cares? Be you who you're called to be.
That's it, man. Be you and be better.
Hmm.
That's just keep growing, keep moving in the forward direction, and challenges will be there. And ask the question instead, what does this challenge mean? What is its purpose in my life? What direction is it helping me to move in? What opportunities will this present? And share your story, help others, because when you help others, you're helping yourself at the same time.
That's right.
So, Mark, you recently launched your line of merchandise called it's the process merchandise. Like, tell us about how did this come about, and tell us what we can expect when we go check it out.
There's I didn't do it. My wife did it. Okay, so I got to give you always give credit where credit is due. That she's my rock. She's my soulmate. She's a true designer. Period. So she just came to me one day. She said, "You know what? I'm going to put together a T-shirt for you." Okay. So she started putting together T-shirts. She started putting together mugs. Started putting together different tchotchkes, different types of things that has the process on it, and all of them, a lot of them have the acronyms across the top of the cups as well. So again, for any information about those, anybody can go to my website, shoot me a message, and I can get that information to you. Like I said, she pretty much handles that, but it's just something that just has everybody to have an opportunity to wear what you feel. Somebody to, if you're feeling that growth, that gradual reminder, obstacles will test hope, you can wear it. If you're feeling that you need a foundation, which I wrote something called AIR, which stands for accountability, integrity, responsibility, and respect, you can wear that around your organization or where you've been. So it's just a constant reminder, man, that it's uplifting to make sure that you, when you walk out or wherever you go, that you are feeling truly who you are, feeling the best person that you can be.
And so many people they're walking around with, and probably the most positive that people are wearing is like Nike, just do it. And that's great. But you've got people who just wear logos around everywhere, logos that don't really mean anything. They're just wearing clothes mindlessly. What if instead you wore clothes and you drank coffee or tea or whatever it is you drink out of a cup that inspires you when you
Mhm.
read the cup? What if you looked in the mirror, the most important piece of furniture, and you saw yourself in, a piece of clothing that had a message on it that meant a lot
Mhm.
for you, whether it's the acronym for your why or the acronym for growth or air, like you just said. What if you could be inspired and reminded every time you look in the mirror, but not just reminding yourself, but what if you could inspire other people at the same time just by wearing a different piece of clothing that touches and helps somebody's life? Like, you have no idea how many people I wear my Be Better stuff everywhere, because why would I not wear my stuff, right? Why
Mhm.
would I wear someone else's? So I'll wear this out there and they're like, be better. Wow, I really like that message. And some people read it because my license plates be better. Some people are like, oh, look at this guy in the nice car with this license plate telling me to be better. But the other half of those people are the people who are ready for that growth, who
That's
say,
right.
oh, it's time to be better. I can be better. Maybe I can be better in this area. So it's the same exact thing with what you're doing. So everyone listening, click the link in the description. Go check out the process merchandise. Go check it out for yourself. There's tons of different stuff there. It looks incredible. So kudos to your wife for the designing and for the handling of that. But kudos to you for creating the platform in the first place, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you. You just said something right there when you said people get to that point sometimes and they ask you or they're ready to grow to be better. Just like that conversation I had with the gentleman yesterday. People, when the pain of being the same is greater than the change, that's when people change.
That's it. Yeah, that is absolutely it. I know you also speak with companies and organizations, and I know you've got something right now until, I believe you said April 15th, where you're actually offering your motivational talk. So what exactly does that look like?
It is up and through April 13th, excuse me, 15th. I am willing to do a 30-minute talk with any company, any organization for absolutely free. 30 minutes for free. We'll talk about different things. I've created messages on legacy, which is leaders exemplify greatness over the years. I talk about growth. I have a message on purpose. I have a message on storms as well. So these is fun. They're interactive, but it also sends and drives a message home to individuals that helps them wrap around being better. The goal is to make sure that everybody that hears it takes they reassess themselves, but they also push themselves to be better every single day. And that's what this is truly about. So April 15th, 30 minutes virtually, free of charge.
It's
So
incredible.
so
Guys,
you got to go to my website and send me a message, send me an email, and I'll get those. Those come right to me. We'll take a look at it. We'll have a conversation about it, and then we'll go from there. But I would love to have an opportunity to help your organization redirect their mind if you feel they need it. But more importantly, if it's any one-on-one conversations that individuals need to have and want to have that are struggling, man, I'm here. My 100,000, 100,000, and let's continue to grow it from 100,000 on.
it's going to grow to a lot more than that, brother. I can tell you that already. Guys, if you work for a company right now and you want to be the man or the woman, right? Refer Mark to whoever that decision maker is to get him speaking in front of your team. He's literally willing to waive his fee for 30 minutes to speak with your team. You're going to be the person who brought him in, right? And they're going to love him because he's going to talk about everything he's talking about right now. And I mean, companies are so used to hearing from the same people, the same leaders, the same managers. Bring in an outside voice, see the difference it can make for the culture, see the difference it can make when it comes to bottom line and results and everything else. And Mark's willing to waive his fee for a 30-minute virtual presentation until April 15th. But book him now. I'm sure he's booking up fast, and we only have so much time. So take advantage of that. Link will be in the description to where you can contact Mark to have that conversation. And that's a very generous offer, Mark. So I appreciate you bringing that to the audience here.
No, not a problem. I want to be able to do my part in leaving people better, never bitter.
I love that. I love our entire conversation. And I know that if you're listening, you took away one piece of value to share the show with one person, because other people need to hear this as well, right? Other people who have their own cage, they want to escape it. They want to build a strong network. They want to overcome these challenges and grow and become a better and a stronger human individual. So Mark, it was a pleasure to have you on the show, brother. Thanks so much for your time and for this awesome conversation to start off our day here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me.
Here's to 100,000, brother. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
That was just an energetic, enriching, fulfilling conversation about the power of words, the power that you have to change your own life, to inspire other people around you by focusing on you and changing your life, by putting that mask on you first before you put it on the person next to you, by living the life that you want to lead as an example to other people. And if you're facing a challenge, just remember, what does this challenge mean? What direction could this challenge be pointing you in? Even if the challenge is debilitating, it's got you on your knees, you don't know what's going to happen next, ask yourself, what could be exciting about this conversation, and then reconnect with your own personal why. And like Mark said, that is withstanding happiness within yourself. Just a lot of awesome juice from this conversation with Mark Smith today. Links are in the description to go start a conversation with Mark. He'll literally speak with your team for 30 minutes. He'll waive his fee to do that until April 15th, which I've never seen anyone come on the show and offer, which is super cool. And then go check out his merchandise, right? Even if you don't have a team or have an idea of who you can refer him to, go check out the merchandise for The Process so that you can bling some motivation, you can feel better about yourself, and you can help other people feel better at the same time. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and giving us your time today. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.